everybody. So the last week, or last few days anyway, have been absolutely huge for Smash-like platform fighters. Or Smash Killers, as they like to be called. I'm just kidding, but seriously, we've had a bunch of character reveals for both Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl and Multiverses. So if you're a fan of crossover platform fighters like me, this has been an exciting time. For today, though, I'm going to talk about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl and where the game is at post-Jenny being added, and my predictions for where it could go from here. But I'm also working on a Multiverses video, as the hype train for that seems to have truly finally left the station now. And I think it's about time we get talking about that regularly. So hopefully I'll have that video done either tomorrow or Thursday, as the alpha starts on Thursday for Multiverses, and I'd like to get us all caught up by then. And there's been a lot of leaks and data mines and all this stuff for Multiverses that I've been dying to finally talk about, and I think now's finally the time. Alright, so with that said, let's dive right into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. So last week we were told that character news was coming on May 13th. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl tweeted this out and wrote, "Back to the lab again." I wasn't sure if this was a hint or reference to a lab-related character, and considering who we got, it very well might have been, but it might also have simply been a reference to something that was going on with the Smash Ultimate community at that time. See, Gimmer had found some new tech for Ultimate and was planning to do a stream to let people know what this new, supposedly game-changing tech actually was. However, their stream ended up just being their idle intro animation, which plays Back to the Lab Again, a song from Dexter's Lab, an old Dexter's Lab like Cartoon Network promotional thing. That played on their stream for like 2 hours while people waited for the stream to actually start and find out about this new tech, and then it just abruptly cut. So very likely Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl was just tweeting as a joke about that. Oh, and Gimmer did eventually show off the tech. It's called the Slingshot. You can look up their video on it, and if you're a Smash Ultimate player, it's definitely worth checking out. Alright, so anyway, on May 13th, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl puts up a video, and they reveal not one, but 3 new brawlers. Jenny Wakeman, or XJ9, who was playable that very day, Hugh Neutron, who's coming in the summer, and Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life, who will be available in the fall. While we'll have to wait on Hugh and Rocco, we did get to see a bit of Hugh's gameplay in this reveal trailer. And he's riding a motorcycle, and his render has him with those wooden ducks, so very cool. Nothing has really been shown yet for Rocco besides his render, but I'll be excited to see what happens with Rocco later on, as Rocco was my most wanted, realizable character not yet in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, so I'm very happy to see him get in the game. Apparently not even Thaddeus, or Rep as they sometimes go by, was aware that all 3 of these brawlers would be revealed at once. This was the first time we went into a Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl character reveal without having a strong leak beforehand, so it was very cool to be pleasantly surprised this time around. I think it was a great reveal. Honestly, my only complaint is that the reveal involved refreshing web pages again, and the fighters were named in the YouTube video. It would have been really great to see this thing streamed so that when the fighters were revealed in the video, that's when they were revealed to us and I didn't read their names beforehand while I was searching to find the video itself. But besides that, I don't think this could have been a hyper reveal trailer for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl characters. There's something here for everyone. The reveal of these 3 DLC characters are being called the Universe Pack, which might imply other packs could happen in the future. And although Thaddeus did say they weren't aware of all of them being revealed, that might just mean all the fighters they are currently working on. We have yet to hear anyone say there's no more fighters, so I assume the door is still open. And right now might likely be a we'll see where things are when we get through these first 3 sort of situation, that kind of deal. That's my guess anyway. See how these 3 sell, and after Rocco, then we'll see if more fighters are actually coming. I'll talk later about whether we should expect more brawlers or not, but for now let's get back to these 3 fighters. So this Universe Pack can be purchased for about $12, or the fighters can be bought individually for $3.99 each, and will all come with a single stage as well. Jenny even has a bit of a splash screen when she's purchased. Jenny logged in. I have to say, I honestly think these were the perfect 3 characters for them to choose here. Whether you predicted them perfectly, like this person did or not, I think these 3 helped the game immensely and pleased the widest range of fans possible. While I didn't guess the order or get Hugh correctly, I did guess the 3 series that would be the first 3 DLC. And considering what we knew, I also said this would be the best option they could probably go for. If 3 more DLC is all we're getting here, or if more is coming, I think they maximized what can be done with 3 spots choosing these 3 particular brawlers. To show what I mean, I want to take a look at a character request fan poll. Now, I'm aware there are other polls out there with varying results, but they were all generally fairly similar with the top most requested characters, and I'm pretty sure this particular poll we knew the devs had actually seen. So with this fan poll in mind, let's talk about what the thought process here is if you have 3 characters to add to this game and you want to please the most fans. First off, Jenny, or XJ9, is a no-brainer, often the most requested character, who has a great moveset potential for a fighter, and is from an unrepresented series, and a series from an era of Nickelodeon, the 2000s, which was underrepresented in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl's base roster. This fan poll also has Jimmy and Timmy scoring extremely high, as they usually do on fan polls for this game, as Fairly OddParents and Jimmy Neutron were basically the faces of Nickelodeon during the 2000s era Nick, but are sorely missing from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. So let's put a pin in that for a second, but obviously Jimmy and Timmy should be considered here. Anyway, most of what Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has been is 90s Nick nostalgia, yet we have a very important 90s Nick series missing, Rocko's Modern Life. And Rocko always scored pretty highly on the fan polls as well. So it makes total sense to want to complete the 90s Nick superstars by adding Rocko. Okay, so with all that said, we're talking about Jenny, Jimmy, Timmy, and Rocko, but we have 3 spots to use. Now, with everything we've found out so far, Timmy Turner likely has some rights issues involving the company Nelvana. Nelvana apparently distributes Fairly OddParents overseas, and I guess there's some issue adding specifically Fairly OddParents content into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl because of that. I don't know this for certain, but given we still have seen nothing Fairly OddParents and how popular of a Nick show it is, I'm not totally sure what's going on there, and I'll talk more about Fairly OddParents later, but regardless for now, let's assume Fairly OddParents was off the table. They could not choose Timmy Turner for whatever reason. So obviously if you can't do Fairly OddParents, you can't get Timmy, you go with Jimmy Neutron. Well, the devs decided to throw us a bit of a curveball, as Hugh Neutron was also highly requested alongside Jimmy. And he was from Jimmy Neutron, the series, as well, and has a lot of meme potential. He's also clearly a less expected and more surprising choice than Jimmy. And choosing Hugh instead of Jimmy makes way more waves online, shocking everybody that he actually made it in, while still being a highly requested character and representing the Jimmy Neutron series, which everybody wants to see in the game. So I think they chose Hugh over Jimmy for the meme and shock value potential, while still giving us the Jimmy Neutron series with a character. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has had meme choices since it was first revealed, and I believe the devs are aware of the power of that in marketing, and they want their DLC to have eyes on it the same way announcing the game itself did. So we end up with 3 new series added: My Life as a Teenage Robot, Jimmy Neutron, and Rocko's Modern Life. We get highly requested characters here, some for nostalgia, and some for strong moveset potential, some for memes and shock value. It's very well rounded with this lineup. And again, I think it maximizes what you can do with 3 spots. There's a female character. We have 3 brand new series. We have stuff from all sorts of different eras of Nickelodeon. Everything people could want, highly requested characters, it's in these 3 character spots. I honestly do not think they could have played this better with the character choices they made. Okay, so now let's talk about what got released with Jenny. We got some patch notes, so the game is still being polished and worked on for sure. Jenny has an amazing moveset. Her moveset potential was always, in my opinion, one of the best arguments in favor of adding her. And I love that this move is called Rocket Power. Good reference. Jenny's stage is Tremorton Joyride, which floats by lots of My Life as a Teenage Robot locations, showing off the whole town, plus Dr. Nora Wakeman, Jenny's mom, and Tuck appear in the background here. Jenny also has a really sweet looking alt costume. Thaddeus even said they changed some of the effects of her fire specifically for this alt, and it's an awesome reference to her show. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is always really great with their references. Alright, so I can't believe I have to mention this, but yes, there's some controversy with one of the statements made by Jenny. It's a quote from her show, but it's also used in a rather infamous not safe for work, let's just say parody that's out there. Thaddeus said they're shocked this quote somehow got into the game, though I'm rather shocked they didn't just say the quote is from her show and leave it at that. Actually bothering to address it at all seems more problematic and giving it more attention. Responding to people addressing this quote honestly gave it more attention than what otherwise I think most people wouldn't have even been aware of or noticed at all. I guess supposedly they're going to remove the line in some future update. And if that wasn't surprising enough, this isn't even the only controversy Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has had lately. Thaddeus has also stated that they'd rather people stop calling Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl a smash killer, as it adds unnecessary rivalry and conflict where it doesn't need to be. While I'm poking fun at it here a bit, truth is I totally get where they're coming from. And yeah, I definitely think platform fighters as a genre can exist without having to be compared to Smash Bros. Directly, and especially without having to be given the unfounded claim of trying to dethrone Smash Bros., be a Smash Bros. Killer. Alright, so what else can we expect to see from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl from here on out? Well, Thaddeus is still saying crossplay is coming. We were told originally it would be Q1 of 2022. However, things change behind the scenes all the time, but Rep is still saying it's coming and will be a free update. Awesome. Whether crossplay gets added on its own or alongside Hugh or Rocco, I'm excited for it to bump up the online player base. So is getting crossplay, Hugh Neutron, and Rocco all we should be expecting from here on out? Apparently not. Thaddeus says they're not done yet, not by a long shot. And Diego, a Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl art director, says there is still more to come. Voice acting was said to be coming at some point as well, and items are in the game's code and appear to have been worked on and updated since they were first discovered. Hugh Neutron's voice actor has been a big advocate of the whole Hugh for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl campaign, so I can't think of a better time to add voice acting into the game than alongside when Hugh shows up, but that's just a guess. And we know there's a Succomatic item, so maybe items could show up alongside Rocco. Again, just a guess. But the real question, of course, is, are these three, Jenny, Hugh, and Rocco, the end of the roster? Will there be any more fighters? We haven't gotten a definitive answer to that yet, and my assumption is the door is still open for more, likely mattering to how well these three sell, but that's just my guess. Guess or not, though, it always helps to vote with your wallet, so buy the DLC if you hope to see more characters show up in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Thaddeus did tweet out a pic of Goku, but that was probably just a joke, as they also said this old Jenny post was just a joke as well, and not actually a hint, even though she did end up making it into the game. But okay, let's hypothetically talk about what more characters could look like in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. I'm personally not going to count on more after Rocco myself, but I'm also not counting out the possibility of getting more either. So let's take a look at what we could maybe get. If you check the official website on mobile, it's a totally squared off block of characters in rows of 5. However, on the website from a PC, there's 5 more blank spots to totally fill out the character selection. And another row of 5 would still fit on the mobile, it would still square it off. 5 more would square off both versions, the PC and mobile version of the site. Rarely do fighting games care about this sort of thing, but with nothing else to go off of, let's play around with the potential of 5 more brawlers. This is going to be sort of a wish list, sort of a predictions thing. Basically, I'm just having fun here, seeing what could happen. And not much has changed with my thought process about where this game's roster should be heading, but with these first 3 lining up with the first 3 series I wanted when I was predicting the rest of the roster before, I don't have much reason to change things up. So forgive me if a lot of what you've heard here, you've heard in past prediction videos from me. Okay, so first up, let's go back to that fan poll that so far has served us very well. Right up at the top, under Jenny, are Timmy and Jimmy. Now, we didn't get either of them, although Hugh is a pretty good Jimmy stand-in repping the Jimmy Neutron series, at least. And maybe once we see Hugh's stage and find out if Jimmy is in the background or not, we'll have a better idea if Jimmy is still a possibility as a playable character or not. But either way, it cannot be argued that Timmy Turner and Jimmy Neutron are not very popular, very recognizable Nicktoons who we don't have yet. Now, I said before I figured Timmy wasn't chosen due to rights issues with Nelvana, and Jimmy was likely passed over in favor of Hugh for the meme potential. But there is another possible reason these two are still absent from the roster. See, Jenny, Hugh, and Rocco are being called the Universe Pack, which sort of implies more packs could be happening. They might have purposely held off on Timmy and Jimmy to instead reveal them together in a Jimmy-Timmy Power Hour pack. Having those two characters show up together could certainly make a lot of sense. They have a history of crossing over. If Nelvana having the international ownership rights to distribute Fairly OddParents isn't a problem, or could have been negotiated with, Fairly OddParents has been in Nickelodeon games in the past after all, maybe after Rocco in the fall we could see a Jimmy-Timmy Power Hour pack releasing in the winter. Whether or not that's how things go down, I do think Timmy Turner should be here for sure. Whatever it takes to negotiate Nelvana for him, it's a travesty to overlook Fairly OddParents, once a cornerstone of Nickelodeon. Now, Hugh Neutron might be enough for the Jimmy Neutron series, but I wouldn't mind Jimmy showing up as well. He has a great moveset potential, and Jimmy Neutron as a series I think is popular enough that it could have 2 reps, so let's add Jimmy in as well. If the next pack, or even the final pack, was a Jimmy-Timmy Power Hour pack, I'm sure a lot of people would be pleased. Now, we have to wait and see what Hugh's stage is going to actually be, but I would give Jimmy the Candy Bar as his stage, and Timmy Turner I'd give Fairy World as his stage. However, there are alternative ways this could go. Maybe Hugh is enough for the Jimmy Neutron series. Maybe Nelvana really is an unsurmountable hurdle for getting Fairly Odd Parents into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. If that's the case, we have to look elsewhere for other Nicktoons that we can put in here. Personally, I think Doug is next in line for most popular missing Nicktoon. However, Disney owns Doug these days, and that seems like an even bigger hurdle than Nelvana. So sadly, I do not think we'll ever see Quailman in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Looking at what other Nicktoons are out there though, while there's tons I'd love to see show up in this game, I think we have to keep in mind how sellable a series actually is. I only really think Angry Beavers and Rocket Power have the recognizability to sell very well. That is, when we're talking about like this tier of Nicktoons, the lesser known Nicktoons. Angry Beavers and Rocket Power are sometimes included in the 90s Nickelodeon nostalgia merchandise, whereas other shows I don't see getting marketed or ever making that cut. So if we don't have Fairly Odd Parents on the table, and Jimmy Neutron is already repped with Hugh and isn't getting any more, I think Angry Beavers is the next series in line. Norbert and Daggett as a duo like Ren and Stimpy would be how I'd have these characters, but if it had to only be one, I'd probably go with Daggett. But I think Ren and Stimpy proves a duo is fine, and that works well for the Angry Beavers. And then next in line, I think, is Rocket Power. While Hugh shows that meme potential can win a character a DLC spot, I don't think Tito has enough moveset potential and meme potential. And it would be a real shame to do Rocket Power and not go heavy on the extreme sports moveset stuff. Tito, as far as I'm aware, only surfs. So that leaves the kids, and I'd probably go with one of the Rocket siblings, so either Otto or Reggie. If we want some female diversity here, I'd probably go with Reggie. If we got Angry Beavers or a Rocket Power character added, I'd go with the Beaver Dam as the Angry Beaver stage and the Shore Shack as the Rocket Power character stage. However, checking the fan polls, Rocket Power rarely even places at all. And some other things that get almost no marketing from Nick scored much higher, like Otis from Barnyard or El Tigre. Given what we've seen of the DLC so far, My Life as a Teenage Robot is the only lesser merchandised series to get a DLC rep. But Jenny also often literally won most of the fan character polls, and I'd rarely, if ever, see her drop below like the top 3 spots on any character polls. So I think that probably bumped her up into being marketable enough despite not having a ton of merchandise. Whereas Jimmy Neutron and Rocko's Modern Life are more popular series that I do actually see get marketed a bit. Remember, these characters are something that has to sell. This is DLC. They have to be certain this stuff has broad enough appeal that it will sell. So it's honestly kind of tough to say if Angry Beavers and Rocket Power, who get merchandise, or El Tigre and Barnyard, who the fans seem to want, if these things hit both of the boxes, being popular with fans and being marketable enough to actually sell as DLC. So with that in mind, although there may be some issues getting Timmy Turner, maybe the Jimmy Neutron series is done, I actually am going to place my bets on a Jimmy Timmy Power Hour pack. I think that works better here, trying to figure out the further DLC, than trying to add in these less popular series. So I'm going to go the Timmy Turner, Jimmy Neutron route for now. Those series are definitely marketable and score high on the fan polls. Fairly Odd Parents might have its Nelvana issues. Jimmy might not happen because we already have Hugh, but I think that's lesser in regards to how likely these characters are when we consider the fact that they're popular in the fan polls and they actually come from marketable series, whereas when I try to go lower than that, I can't hit both those boxes. Okay, so if we've run out of series popular enough to bank on selling as DLC, we have to move on to series already repped getting more brawlers. Right now, SpongeBob, the face of Nickelodeon, as a series doesn't have the most reps. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles does. SpongeBob has 3 with SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has 4 with Leo, Mikey, April, and Shredder. I can't imagine a Smash Bros. Game where, say, the Mario Brothers series has less characters than the Fire Emblem series. Though I'm sure Sakurai can imagine a Smash Bros. Game like that. So let's bump up the SpongeBob representation. Mr. Krabs and Plankton often score pretty high in the polls, but Squidward is certainly next in line for SpongeBob reps. He tops the polls as far as SpongeBob characters are concerned, usually scoring pretty high in the overall poll itself too. His importance to the SpongeBob series can't be stressed enough, and Squidward has meme potential. Also, SpongeBob as a series has yet to do either the Krusty Krab or Conch Street as stages. Either one of those would be fine in my opinion for Squidward, and while the Krusty Krab probably fits a Mr. Krab stage better, it's a travesty not to have the Krusty Krab as a stage at all. And if the DLC is getting tight here, and I'm only going to add one SpongeBob character and it's going to be Squidward, Mr. Krabs can just like cameo in the background. Let's give him the Krusty Krab as a stage. Now next, there's a few ways this can go. One possibility is something similar to the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour pack I talked about. You could do a Cowabunga pack and add in the 2 missing turtles. It is strange to have a video game where not all 4 Ninja Turtles are playable. However, I think there's some big problems with just adding 2 of them here. TMNT would seriously bloat the roster if they got 2 more spots. They already got 1 DLC with Shredder. They had 4 spots dedicated to TMNT, and they chose not to do the 4 turtles, but rather give us April and Shredder. 6 spots would be massive on a roster this size. That would be a huge chunk of that roster. Also, if you add Raph and Don, that would mean 2 more stages. I can't even think of other TMNT locations worth doing at this point. You could go the Double Dare stage route that Shredder got and do a non-TMNT stage like Legend of the Hidden Temple or Good Burger or something, which would be pretty cool. I'd love to see that, but I think there's better options than adding Raph and Don. And I say that as someone whose favorite turtle is Raphael, and I'd really like to see him here. Instead of bloating a roster with TMNT representation, I think the better option is to bump up some of the underrepresented, highly popular series. Specifically Rugrats. It's extremely underrepped. Before SpongeBob came around, Rugrats was the Nickelodeon show, basically their mascot. And all we have here from Rugrats is Reptar. If there isn't some ESRB type rating problem having toddlers actually battle in this game, then Rugrats needs more reps. While I haven't really seen any Rugrats characters placed highly on fan polls, I think the popularity of the series is undeniable. And it's one of those weird cases where, while getting, let's say, Tommy Pickles into the game doesn't have diehard fans pushing for that individual character, I think it's mostly because the type of characters from Rugrats are the ones we're thinking should be a given in this type of game. For instance, if Mario wasn't in Super Smash Bros., I'd still expect more people pushing for Waluigi. I think the Waluigi fans would be louder in voting simply because people would be expecting Mario to potentially happen anyway. Alright, so when looking at Rugrats, I think it comes down to 3 possible candidates. Tommy, Chucky, and Angelica. Tommy is the main character, and while main characters don't always make it into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, he definitely has moveset potential and is up there with SpongeBob and Timmy Turner as recognizably Nickelodeon. However, for gender diversity's sake and the fact I think she'd have an even better fighting game moveset potential, hitting stuff with Cynthia, using toy weapons, and her general bratty, bullying ways, I think Angelica is the way to go here. Gets us another girl character as DLC, bumps up Rugrats representation to 2 fighters, and has good fighting game moveset potential. And I think she falls more so somewhat into the Lincoln Loud, Lucy Loud age range than the other babies, so if beating up on babies is somehow an issue, I think Angelica could maybe skirt the line. And her stage could be the playpen with Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, Dill, Kimmy, Spike, Dee Dee, Stu, whoever else we want walking around the house cameoing in the background. You could get the rest of the Rugrats crew in there with a stage. Alright, and then when we're down to a final spot, I think it makes the most sense to add Zuko. He scored highly on the fan polls, Avatar is an extremely popular series, firebending and using a sword have excellent moveset potential for sure, plus he finishes off the 4 kingdoms and the 4 bending type elements by being a Fire Nation firebender. His stage could be a ship or a fleet of Fire Nation warships. So this lineup is what I'd try to do for DLC if more is on the way and I had control of it. Jimmy Timmy Power Hour pack, bringing in Fairly OddParents, a new series, and giving us 2 of the most popular Nickelodeon all-star characters and popular with fans on the fan poll. Then you do another final pack of 3, maybe call it like a nostalgia pack, I don't know, something to do with them being characters from already represented series or something somehow, and do Squidward, Angelica, and Zuko. I think those 3 hit all the marks you want in a DLC pack. We got cool characters with good movesets like Zuko, popular characters like Squidward, and high-scoring fan poll characters, again, Squidward, Zuko, meme potential with Squidward, plus there's a female rep with Angelica, and it spans different eras of Nickelodeon, with Rugrats being a old 90s Nicktoon like Rocco is. I think with those 3, there's something here for everybody, very similar to Jenny, Hugh, Rocco, also hitting all those boxes that these other 3 fighters would hit as well. So there you go, that's what I'd do. Now again, there's lots of ways this could go differently, like whether Timmy Turner is even possible, maybe Hugh is going to be it for Jimmy Neutron reps, and maybe Tommy would win out over Angelica, or Chucky would win if we actually did get another Rugrats rep. or they do decide to add the missing 2 turtles or something. I could spend all day making variations on all the stuff I just talked about and come up with lots of different final 5 more potential DLC characters. But if I had control here and had 5 more spots to do, I'd do a Jimmy Timmy Power Pack and another 3-pack of nostalgia characters or already repped series characters, Squidward, Angelica, and Zuko. That I think makes the most sense. Even if, in general, personally, I actually like adding as many series as possible, and this would actually only bring in Fairly OddParents as a new series. Again, marrying to what we see from Hugh's stage, basically if Jimmy's in the background there, I'd have to update it if I think the Jimmy Timmy Power Pack is actually still possible. Jimmy's in the background of Hugh's stage, obviously Jimmy's out, and we'd probably replace him with like Angry Beavers or something here, and potentially Nelvana really is a big enough hurdle that we just simply can't get Fairly OddParents. So, I don't know, we'd have to change this around. I'll update as we get more characters and more information as time goes on. Anyway, though, at this time, this is the roster I'd hope they kind of shoot for if there are more brawlers to do after Rocco. Alright, so there you go. What do you guys think of my prediction roster further character list there? Personally, there's tons of characters I didn't even mention that I'd love to see. I'm a big Invader Zim fan, for instance, so I'd love to get, like, Dib as a character. But I was trying to do this as more of a predictions thing, so I left out lots of characters I'd personally like to see and just went with characters I think could happen, or what I think is kind of objectively the right way they should try to fill out the end of the roster here, if we even get any more characters. I'm excited to see what the future holds for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Even if there aren't more characters, crossplay, voice acting items could boost the game up a lot, and we still have Hugh Neutron and Rocco to look forward to anyway. Alright, well if you have any thoughts or comments about any of the stuff I talked about in this video, leave them below.
Remember to like the video, leave a comment in the section below, and subscribe to PapaGenos!
Twitter, Patreon, Discord, Twitch.